Hey, what's going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video. But before we get started, I just want to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And what we are doing today is getting back in the swing of things with the Jets schedule series. So we did parts 1 and part 2, breaking down the first half, and now we are into the second half of the season, the final 8 remaining games. So let's get right into it, starting with Week 10 against the New York Football Giants. And if you remember, they are 4-4 at this part. That's where I have them. So some key additions to the New York Giants is they got Golden Tate to replace Odell Beckham at wide receiver. We'll talk about him in the losses part in just a little bit. Jabril Peppers and Daniel Jones. On the loss side, you obviously lost Odell, you lost Landon Collins, and you lost Olivier Vernon. Those are 3 pretty substantial pieces on that New York Giants team. Now, they took Daniel Jones 6th overall. By week 10, is he going to be starting? If I was running the Giants, I would say yes, he should be, but there's no guarantee that that is going to be the case. So taking that into consideration when we're talking about this game, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be, but I don't think it's going to matter all that much. Their offense is still going to be similar in the sense that they're going to rely very heavily on the run game, which actually plays in favor of the New York Jets because their run defense should be a lot better than their pass defense, and there's a few reasons why. Quinnen Williams and Leonard Williams in the middle, 2 very good run-stopping defensive linemen. Then your middle linebackers or your inside linebackers, obviously Williamson and Mosley. Those are 2 quality linebackers who can go from sideline to sideline, being able to stop the run. Those guys could, not necessarily, but could potentially struggle in some passing attacks because when teams expose them in putting more, quicker guys on the field, putting more speed on the field, on the offensive side of the ball, the Jets are going to have to favor more on their weakness, which is their cornerback position and their edge rushers and getting pressure, something that the Jets really struggle with. So they should fare well against teams that run the ball a lot, and the Giants are shaping up to do that quite a bit. Offensively, the Jets should be able to let Darnold rip the ball around a little bit. The Giants gave up the 23rd most passing yards per game last year. I don't think they're going to be a whole lot better. I still think that defense is mediocre to maybe okay. I think they probably finished somewhere around like the 20th overall defense, so in the second half of the league there. But this is a game that the Jets on paper should win. These teams are semi-evenly matched in the sense that they're probably going to finish around a similar record. Maybe the Jets have a slight edge here. So I'm going to go Jets 27, Giants 13, a relatively low-scoring side for the Giants. I don't expect them to put up a ton of points, especially if the Jets are able to contain Saquon Barkley. Again, easier said than done, but this is a team that you could put 8, 9 in the box against and feel pretty comfortable with, no matter who's the quarterback, because Eli's not pushing the ball downfield at this point in his career, and Daniel Jones, who knows what he's going to be at the NFL level. So I'm pretty confident in the New York Jets in Week 10. So that win puts them to 5-4. Now, Week 11, they go on the road to Washington, who should also be a bottom feeder in the NFC East. Some key additions: Dwayne Haskins. Is he going to be the starting quarterback? Who knows? Landon Collins, Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, and also Case Keenum. Can't forget about him. Lost: Jamison Crowder. Hello, welcome to the New York Jets. Zach Brown, Clinton Dix, and pass rusher Preston Smith. Now, the Redskins aren't supposed to be a good team this year. Like I said, they're probably finishing 4th, maybe ceiling 3rd in the division, definitely behind the Eagles and Cowboys for sure, though. But when it comes to the New York Jets, there's always a clunker mixed in, and there's always a game that they should win but don't. And I have it in this game against the Washington Redskins. Again, on paper, the Jets should probably win this game, but I have them mixing in a clunker because if you look at the other matchups that they're going to play in the next 2 weeks after this, you'll look and say, hey, those are winnable games too. But are they really going to pop off like a 4-game win streak? I'm not going to buy that just yet at this point. So I think the Jets struggle on the road, lose a semi-tight game and an ugly-looking one. I'm going to go Redskins 17, Jets 13. So the Jets drop to 5-5 after Week 11 and after 10 games played, but in fairly okay position playoff-wise as the season rolls on into the final weeks here. In Week 12, the Jets have Oakland. thank God, after an ugly loss to get to 5-5. So some key additions: Antonio Brown, Richie Incognito, Vontaze Burfict, and Luke Wilson. They lost Jared Cook, they lost Lee Smith, and they lost John Feliciano. Now, while this team is a lot more talented, they are still set up to be an absolute dumpster fire this year, as they are going to be on Hard Knocks. But I think they are by far the worst team in the AFC West. Maybe Denver, maybe somehow they finish above Denver, but even so, Denver's still got a little bit more talent there than the Oakland Raiders. I just don't really love what John Gruden's doing there, and I think that it helps because the Jets are the home team. They're not going on the road onto the West Coast. In fact, it's the opposite. So the Raiders are coming all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast. 1 o'clock game, which obviously that's like a 10 a.m. start time if you're used to playing on the West Coast. I really like the Jets in this one. I think they're going to be able to put up a lot of points. I'm going to say they win 30-14, and it's one of Darnold's better games of the year. So they are now sitting at 6-5 and heading into week 13 and our last game on this slate, the third one in part 3, against the Cincinnati Bengals. Some key additions: John Miller, B.W. Webb, Kerry Wynn. Some key losses: Tyler Kroft, Vontaze Burfict, and Tom Savage. They went 6-10 last year, and I think they're probably going to be the worst team in the AFC North again this year. You looked at Baltimore, they made the playoffs last year. Yes, I think they probably regress a little bit, but they are still much better than the Cincinnati Bengals, even with all their losses and the potential regression from Lamar Jackson. Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, you lost Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, but they are by far better than the Cincinnati Bengals. And of course, everyone's darling the Cleveland Browns. They, on paper, probably have the most talented roster in the entire AFC. What are they going to be, though, after they get on the field? Can they click with all those personalities? Who knows? But they should still finish better than the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think they're probably looking at another 6-10-ish season if you're Cincinnati, unfortunately, even though you got out of the Marvin Lewis web finally. But at the end of the day here, I don't think Andy Dalton is going to carve up the New York Jets defense all that much. Despite their lack of cornerback depth, I think they should be able to contain Mixon as well and have a fairly productive game. The Bengals' defense was terrible last year. They allowed the most yards and the second most points against. Jets win big for the second week in a row, 30-10, and now are sitting at 7-5 with 4 games remaining. Pretty good shape and coming off 2 convincing wins. So in part 4, we'll get into the last part of the schedule, the last quarter of the schedule, but they have some very tough matchups mixed in there. But sitting at 7-5, I think if you are Adam Gase and the New York Jets, you got to be pretty happy with that positioning, especially after last year. And it all depends on what Sam Darnold is able to do and who is able to stay healthy, because there's going to be injuries no matter what happens in the NFL. So you got to be ready for that. The Jets struggle with depth, so one injury could potentially derail their season. But based on paper right now, I have the Jets sitting at 7-5 through 3 quarters of their schedule. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you missed any of the videos, I will also link them in the comments below, so you can go back and watch part 1 and part 2. And let me know what you think the Jets' record is after 12 games. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you really liked it, hey, throw me a subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.